Hey, I'm Pat Porter. I'm the broker for RecLand Realty. Here we talk about the rural real estate business and ideas and information to help you better manage and enjoy your own property. Hey, in this video, I want to talk to you about the right of first refusal and give you some suggestions on how to deal with that if that's something you ever find yourself in the middle of. First of all, what is the right of first refusal? Simply, it is a contractual obligation that gives another individual the first right to buy a piece of property if you ever decide to sell it. It just says, hey, before you sell this place, I get first shot at it. And it's a contractual obligation. It's usually put in a deed on a piece of property, and it's in the records, and anybody that tries to sell that property, when title search is done, that language is found in the deed, and a red flag is waved and says, oh, wait a minute, somebody else has a right of first refusal on this property. So that's the typical definition of a right of first refusal. Now, how do you get into a right of first refusal? When you buy a piece of property from someone, the current owner may request that to say, hey, if you ever sell this property, I want the first right to buy it back. So if you're ever involved in one, here are a few suggestions. This comes from experience because I just closed a large deal, over a $2 million deal that had a right of first refusal as part of it, and it went smoothly, but that got me to thinking, hey, there are other people going to run into this from time to time, so what should you do? Number one, don't do them. Do not get into a right of first refusal if you have any choice in the matter. And the reason being is it just creates an obstacle if you ever try to sell the property. It just creates more nuisance and annoyance for buyers if they have to deal with that. Because the last thing a seller wants to do, or a real estate agent wants to do when they're marketing a piece of property, is you have somebody that's really interested, it's going well, the price seems to be right, it's what they're looking for. You get down to details about negotiating it, you can tell they're really interested, and then you got to tell them, oh, by the way, John over there gets the first right at it, and so he has to say no before you can buy it. Now, folks, that's just a wet blanket. I mean, you're talking about a buzzkill. That is it. To have to tell somebody they got to wait for somebody else to make a decision before they can buy the property. It's not necessarily always a deal killer, but I have seen it kill a deal. I have seen buyers just walk away and say, no, we'll just go look for something else. At best, it is a nuisance and an aggravation. So my suggestion is just stay away from them if at all possible. But if you can't, here are a few more suggestions to kind of help you navigate it. Suggestion number 2, and this applies if you're the seller of a piece of property with a right of first refusal and you have to grant that right to someone else, keep the time frame short. Give the person who has the right of first refusal a very small window of time that they can exercise that right to say, yes, I will buy it, or waive the right to say, no, thank you, I can't match that offer. Go ahead and sell it to the other guy. You know, I've seen 30 days, I've seen 60 days. In my opinion, that's too long to give somebody the time to make the decision. Personally, I would give them 10 business days to either accept the right or waive the right. Now, that's not 10 business days to close the deal. That's going to take a little more time, but they can make a decision to accept the right or waive the right in 10 business days. Suggestion number 3, if you have to give somebody a right of first refusal in the language, be sure to specify clearly when that timing starts. You need a trigger to start the time on that period. And I recommend, like I said just a minute ago, 10 days, but you got to have a real good trigger so there's no doubt when the time starts. The way I suggest it, they have X number of days after written notification has been sent to them. If you are the seller or if you're the real estate agent, it's real easy to prove that you have sent written documentation to someone. It's sometimes difficult to prove that they have received it and gotten their hands on it and read it. And so I prefer to be in control of that. Send written notification. That needs to be written, okay? Written notification, and be sure the time starts the day you sent it. And you can verify that with a FedEx tracking receipt, a certified receipt, and a letter, you know, to say, hey, this was sent on X day at X time, and that starts the clock on that time period. Number 4, Be sure to make it very clear how much time they have to actually close the deal if they choose to accept or exercise that right of first refusal. It doesn't need to be an open-ended deal that, hey, maybe if I can get the financing or if my grandmother will loan me the money. No. You got to have a set period of time after the right of first refusal is accepted to the point of closing. It's got to be a very clear time. And the best way to do that is if a person accepts the right of first refusal, then they need to match the contract or the offer that you got that triggered that right. Here's a scenario. You're showing a piece of property if you're a real estate agent, or somebody calls you and wants to buy a property if you're the owner, and you talk to them and you negotiate it, you get a written contract. You then, in writing, notify the person who has the right of first refusal to say, I have a written contract, here it is. Do you want to match this contract, or you just want to waive your right of first refusal? And that starts the clock on that period of time. They have to say yes or no. And then if they say no, then you just go on and close this deal with the contracts you have. If they say yes, then they have to close according to the terms of this contract. And I would make that very clear. That keeps it really, really tight. And that's what I did in this recent deal that I had. It was over $2 million. The gentleman exercised the right to buy it, and then he had to close according to the terms of the written offer that I had. And it was a cash deal that had to close by a certain date. So, it was kind of yes or no, fish or cut bait kind of deal. So that's what you want. Make the time frame really short. And then once they accept that right of first refusal, the option to move forward in that right, they need to abide by the contract that you have and close quickly and according to these terms. Hey, here's just a couple nuts and bolts to help you through this. So you can, like I say, you want a real tight deal. You don't want anything to mess up your opportunity to sell your property if you're the owner, or if you're a real estate agent, you don't want something to come in and screw up the deal with your principal. So in the offer that you get from a potential buyer, you need to make sure that it clearly says that the buyer understands that there is a right of first refusal attached with this property, that X number of days have to go by, and that this buyer that's writing this contract, they understand that they may or may not get this property. It's contingent on the right of first refusal. So make sure your paperwork is good and clear. When you send the contract to the gentleman or the lady that has the right of first refusal, be sure to kind of X out or black out the personal information in the contract. It's not their business, the phone number and the social security number and the name and address of your buyer. What's really relevant to them is the purchase price and the terms and the closing date. Keep things confidential as you can, but they need to have a copy of that contract so that they see a valid offer has been made. Another thing you need to do is make sure that if the person does decide to exercise their right of first refusal, that you then get a written contract with them with the same terms and conditions that you have with your original offer. You've got a new contract with the buyer who's exercised that right of first refusal. The worst thing that can happen is if you have a sloppy contract with somebody in a right of first refusal, and then they say, yeah, they want it, and then your buyer here has now his contract's voided, he's gone, he's looking for something else, and then the deal falls through with the people that exercise the right of first refusal. Now you've got no deal. And so that's the worst thing that can happen, but it can be avoided if you just really run a tight ship, keep things real concise and clear all through the process. And another little housekeeping tip here, just so you understand, especially if you're dealing with a real estate agent with your property, or he or she has brought you this original offer, and then the right of first refusal people do end up buying the property, the real estate agent gets paid as if he brought the right of first refusal people to the deal. Now you understand that, don't you? Because it's the real estate agent, it's the broker who brought the contract, the first one, that triggered the right of first refusal to help you sell it to this other guy. So it is a slam dunk, no brainer. He gets cut in on the commission just like he was the representing the original buyer. So don't get all weird on that and say, oh, this real estate agent doesn't get any commission. Yeah, he does. In fact, good real estate people even have that in their listing agreements, that any kind of activity that triggers a right of first refusal, they're cut in on the commission as normal. So anyway, if you think about it, it makes perfect sense. You're selling the property, real estate agent's getting paid. It's sort of irrelevant to you. You're just happy to get your property sold. Don't let it get confusing. Talk to an attorney if you have any questions about it. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just telling you from experience how I've gone about doing it. You talk to a good attorney before you get involved in a right of first refusal, just to make sure you've got everything covered, and any peculiarities that are unique to your state law, you've got that taken care of in any deals you enter into. Thanks for listening to our podcast, watching our videos, and we appreciate you very much. Bye.